Conditional sentence. A conditional sentence is a sentence that expresses a condition. A condition is something that can only happen if something else occurs. A conditional sentence contains an independent clause and a dependent clause that almost always begins with if. An independent clause, also called a main clause, is a group of words containing a subject and a verb that can stand alone as a sentence. Independent clauses, if we take them by themselves, are capable of being their own complete sentence. For example, after I go to school, I will do my homework. In this example, I will do my homework is an independent clause because it can stand all by itself and still make sense. If we remove the rest of the sentence, it still makes perfect sense and is also a grammatically complete sentence. A dependent clause is a group of words that contain a subject and a verb, but is dependent on an independent clause in a sentence. Dependent clauses, if we take them by themselves, are not capable of being their own sentences. For this reason, dependent clauses are often called subordinate clauses because they are subordinate to a main clause within the sentence. For example, when I finish eating, I will go to my class. In the above example, when I finish eating is a dependent clause because it depends on the independent clause, I will go to my class, in order to make sense. A conditional sentence is only a conditional sentence if it has both these parts. Some conditional clauses might begin with when. There are 4 different types of conditional sentences in English. Each expresses a different degree of probability that a situation will occur or would have occurred under a certain circumstances. There is the zero conditional sentence, first conditional sentence, second conditional sentence, and the third conditional sentence. Zero conditional sentence. Firstly, zero conditional sentences express general truths, situations in which one thing always causes another. When you're using a zero conditional sentence, you're talking about a general truth rather than a specific instance of something. For example, if you don't go to class, you will fail your exam. When using the zero conditional, the correct tense to use in both clauses is the simple present tense. A common mistake is to use a simple future tense. For example, if you don't go to class, you will fail your exams. Also, the words if and when can be used interchangeably in the zero conditional sentence. This is because the outcome will always be the same, so it doesn't matter if or when it happens. For example, when you don't go to class, you will fail your exam. First conditional sentence. To continue, first conditional sentences are used to express a situation in which the outcome is likely but not guaranteed to happen in the future. For example, if you listen in class, you will eventually succeed. We use the simple present tense in the if clause and simple future tense in the main clause because it's the clause that expresses the likely outcome. This is how we indicate that under a certain condition expressed in the if clause, a specific result will likely happen in the future. Here are some mistakes that you should avoid. For example, if you listen in class, you will eventually succeed. Use the simple present tense in the if clause. The correct way would be, if you listen in class, you eventually succeed. The result is not guaranteed. When the result is likely, use the first conditional, simple present plus future. The second conditional sentence. Then, the second conditional sentence are used for expressing outcomes that are completely unrealistic or will not likely happen in the future. For example, if I were a teacher, I would ban exams. The correct way to structure a second conditional sentence is to use the simple past tense in the if clause and an auxiliary modal verb, could, should, would, might, in the main clause. As a reminder, the main clause is the one that expresses the unrealistic or unlikely outcome. Here are some mistakes to avoid. For example, if I am a teacher, I would ban exams. Use the simple past tense in the if clause. The correct way to say it would be, if I were a teacher, I would ban exams. Use a modal auxiliary verb like would in the main clause when using the second conditional mood to express the unlikelihood that the result will actually happen. Third conditional sentence. The third conditional sentence are used to explain that present circumstance would be different if something different had happened in the past. For example, if you had told me you needed help, I would have answered the phone faster. These sentences express a condition that was likely enough, but did not actually happen in the past. The speaker in the first sentence was capable of helping but did not. This is a condition that was likely but regrettably did not happen. When using the third conditional, we use the past perfect, had plus past participant, in the if clause. The modal auxiliary would, could, should, etc. plus have plus past participant. In the main clause, express the theoretical situation that could have happened. Here are some mistakes to avoid. Example: if you would have told me you needed help, I would have answered the phone faster. Do not use a modal auxiliary verb in the if clause. A correct way to say it would be, if you had told me you needed help, I could answer the phone faster. The third conditional mood expresses a situation that could have only happened in the past if a certain condition had been met. That's why we use the modal auxiliary verb plus have plus the past participle. Exception in the conditional sentences. As with most topics in the English language, conditional sentences often present special cases in which unique rules must be applied. The use of the simple future in the if clause. Generally speaking, the simple future should be used only in the main clause. One exception is when the action in the if clause will take place after the action in the main clause. For example, if asking questions in class will help me understand, I will ask a couple in my next English class. The action in the if clause is the student asking questions, which will take place only when he will ask them during the next English class. Where to in the if clause. The verb phrase where to is something used in conditional sentences when the likely or unlikely result is particularly awful or unthinkable. In this case, where to is used to place emphasis on the potential outcome. If I were to be sick, I would miss another day of class. The emphatic where to can be used to describe hypothetical scenarios in the present, future, and past. Punctuating conditional sentences. Despite the complex nature of conditional sentences, punctuating them properly is really simple. Use a comma after the if clause when the if clause precedes the main clause. Example: if I'd had time, I would have studied for my next exam. If the main clause precedes the if clause, no punctuation is necessary. For example, I would have studied for my next exam if I'd had time. Thank you.